Dear students, now in this video we are going to see about this module 3 uh, elements of mechanical engineering subject. In that module 3 we are having a topic of internal combustion engines, okay, IC engines. And in this video we are going to see about this classification, what is IC engine and what are the classifications, okay. Alright, first of all, what is engine? So engine normally we can use for two-wheeler or four-wheeler or whatever it is. An engine mechanism is used to convert one kind of energy into a mechanical energy. Alright. So if it is a electrical engine, electrical energy will be converted. But here we are going to use IC engine, internal combustion engine, where fuel is getting combusted. Okay, that's what we call it as combustion. Some petrol or diesel, whatever it is, the fuel is get burnt and a heat energy is going to be produced. That heat energy is going to be utilized for the producing the mechanical energy, which is rotary energy. So the combustion of fuel, it may generate heat. Okay, so petrol or diesel or whatever the fuel we are getting from the fossil fuels, we are normally we say it is a fossil fuel. We are pouring into that and we are burning it through a spark plug or other kind of ignition systems, so that when it gets ignited it produces heat. That heat is becomes the working substance for the engine. It will produce a force. It can, because of the expansion of the gases inside the cylinder, and it produces the force which acts on the piston, that is going to be useful for the rotary motion. So in this case, what are the types of engines, let me see here, then we will go one by one explanation in that. So classifications of IC engines. First of all, IC, it indicates internal combustion engine, right? First, it is based on fuels. What are the types of fuels we are going to use in the IC engines? One is mainly major, we are using this petrol and diesel engines. Okay, petrol engines only we can use petrol as a fuel. Okay, and for diesel engines we can use diesel as the fuel, so it is called a diesel engine. And gas engines like biogas, natural gas, and liquid LPG gas, all are used as a fuel. We call it as a gas engines. And biofuel, so obviously it's a mixture of more than one fuel, mixture of natural gas, diesel, neem oil. It's a bifuel, we call it as bifuel. Okay, so two fuels we can add it. These are all the classification based on the fuels. And classification of IC engine based on the number of strokes. Okay, what do you mean by a stroke? First we should know about a stroke. A stroke is the movement of the piston from one end to another end. And normally uh, a cylinder, in the cylinder contains a piston. The piston is moving up and down because of the expansion of gases, and the gas is going to give a pressure on the piston to move downward. So these are all the things we are going to study in the next classes. So the stroke is the how much distance the piston is moving from bottom to top. It's a stroke length, we call it as. And stroke is a one movement from one end to another end, bottom to top or top to bottom. So here there is two different engines out there according to the strokes per cycle. One cycle consists of, okay, strokes per cycle, in the sense, what is a cycle? Fuel, the fuel is getting and fuel burnt and it expand, then it uh, gives the pressure to the piston. After that, again, exhaust, that is okay. So intake, combustion, expansion, and exhaust. So we will say four different operations. This all four, it becomes okay, one cycle. So to complete one cycle, these four operations are needed. Okay, so sucking operation, that is fuel intake is needed, fuel compression is needed, and then burning, then expansion, then the smoke what it is created inside, it has to move outward. That is called exhaust. This all operations is needed. So these are all operations If it takes in each and every strokes, then we call it as four strokes. Okay, so suction stroke, compression stroke, power stroke, exhaust stroke, like that. If the engine completes the working cycle in four different strokes of the piston, then we call it as a four stroke engine. If the same four operations we then happen in one revolution, so that is only two strokes. First in down stroke and up stroke, only two strokes will be there. So if all the operations has been done within the two strokes of the piston, then we call it as a two stroke engine. So the classification based on strokes per cycle, we call it as four stroke engine and a two stroke engine. Another types we see here, method of ignition. So how the fuel is going to be ignited? Normally we will use fuel, petrol or fuel for diesel, whatever it is the fuel which we are going to use. So once the fuel is getting used, then during that burning, okay, for burning the fuel, what kind of ignition method we are going to use? So here we call it as method of ignition, spark ignition and compression ignition. Spark ignition, in short term we call it as SI engine, and compression ignition CI engine. Here spark ignition is, that is, the fuel is getting ignited by producing an electrical spark. Okay, so by a spark plug which is attached in the head of the cylinder, so it's called a spark ignition. So that during the compression stage, the spark is getting ignited because of the by the spark plug, so that the fuel is going to burn. That is called ignition, spark ignition system. Another one is compression ignition system, where the fuel ignites automatically with the pressurized temperature, pressurized air and the hot temperature. Okay, this is called compression ignition. There is no spark plug present over here. So CI engine is compression engine. And according to the cycle of combustion, so as we said, that is petrol and diesel, two cycles were there, that in detail we will see. So cycle in the sense, what is in intake, suction, compression, and then exhaust. Then all the four are different cycles. That is, one cycle is consist of all the four operations. So auto cycle is one, it's a constant volume cycle, we call it as auto cycle engine. How it is function we will see in the further classes. So auto cycle and diesel cycle, it's a combustion of fuel takes place at constant pressure. This is what the diesel cycle. So auto is a person who identify the petrol engine, so it is named as auto cycle, and it's called auto cycle engines, which works on the purpose on the principle of auto cycle. It is called as a auto cycle engine. And if the engine works on the principle of a diesel cycle, then we call it as a diesel cycle engine. Okay, so this is the classification based upon the petrol and diesel and cycles, auto and diesel cycle. Another one is according to the number of cylinders used. So how many number of cylinders? Either it may be a single cylinder or a multi-cylinder. Normally in two wheelers, we can see that bikes, okay, 100cc bike, 50cc bike, everything it's have a cylinder. So that's normally single cylinder it will be there. That then in bullets or Enfield bikes, you can see some two engines. Okay, so we call it as, if it is more than one cylinder, we call it as multi-cylinder engine. In buses, trucks, lorries, so these are all having more number of cylinders. That is, more number of cylinders is required for getting more power. So we call it as a multi-cylinder engine. And cylinders may be arranged in different orientation. That also we have a classification according to the inline arrangement. So the cylinders are arranged in line. Number of cylinders may be arranged in a straight line and opposite direct pistons. So sometimes two cylinders which can be arranged in opposite direction when suction is taking place in one side, and compression will be in the another side, because the piston movement will be opposite direction. And V type cylinder, you can see two pistons arranged in an angle, that two cylinders arranged in an angle. So when the crankshaft rotates, the piston movements in two different cylinders will be in different positions. So that is called a V cylinder. And a radial cylinder, horizontally opposite cylinder. These are all the some types of classification according to the arrangement of cylinders. So vertical cylinder is the one which the cylinder is arranged in vertical position only. Horizontal engine is the one the cylinder is arranged in horizontal position. So you can see here the vertical inline cylinder is the vertical one, and the horizontal opposite cylinder which is arranged. The cylinder itself, the orientation of the cylinder, it depends upon the orientation of cylinder, vertical cylinder or horizontal cylinder, and inline cylinder. So number of cylinders arranged in a line. Okay, this is what inline cylinder. Most of the trucks, buses, trucks, we are having this type of cylinder. And radial type of engine. Radial in the sense circumference. Cylinders are arranged in circumference. Is right side last image you can see cylinders arranged in the circle form that's arranged in a circumference, so that all engines can be operated by the rotation of the crankshaft and the piston movements can be done. This is called engine, radial engine. And V engine have two inline engines equal, set at an equal angle. So these are called inline engine. And V type engine, so as we said, and opposite engine. So cylinders are arranged in opposite direction to each other. So once again we will go with this. So cylinders according to first is fuel. Okay, so what are the types of fuel we can use it? Petrol, diesel, gas engines. So classification according to fuels used is petrol engine, diesel engine, and gaseous engines, and biofuel engine. And according to the number of strokes per cycle, so 4-stroke engine and 2-stroke engine. 4-stroke have 4 different strokes of the piston or 2 revolution of the crankshaft. Within 2 revolution of the crankshaft, the piston moves 4 times. So this is called 4-stroke engine. On 2-stroke engine, only 1 revolution of the crankshaft takes place, or the piston moves only 2 strokes, up and downward. Okay, upward and downward stroke. So we call it as a 2-stroke engine. And according to the method of ignition, so the petrol engine is normally it uses spark plug. We call it as SA engine or spark plug engine. Diesel engine, it compresses and then burn. So compression ignition engine, where there is no spark plug present. And then we will go for according to cycle of combustion. Either it may be auto cycle or it may be diesel cycle, and we will see explain how auto cycle and diesel cycle will work in the further videos. And the cylinders, number of cylinders, it may be a single cylinder engine or multiple cylinder engine. And the cylinders, how they are going to arrange it now. Okay, that is called the arrangement of cylinder. Classification according to arrangement of cylinder. It may be a vertical engine, horizontal engine, V type engine, radial type engine, right, opposed type engine, like this. So this is the what is engine. Heat engine. Heat engine is the one which produces rotary motion or mechanical motion with the help of the heat. So the classification also we have seen here, right? So cooling also there. According to cooling, normally in two-wheeler, when we are riding, fins will be there. You can might have seen that fins. They are air cooled engines. So, and if bikes and cars and trucks, lorries, these are all using water cooling engine. So the engine is circulated with water, so that we can say water is circulated. Then the water gets the heat, because engine is producing more heat when it is the fuel is burning inside. And according to the users, we can say stationary engine, automobile engine, marine engine, and aircraft engine, like that. So it depends upon the application of the engines, right? So in the next classes we will further we see what is a 2-stroke and a 4-stroke engine, how they are going to work out in the next videos, right? Thank you.